preview you are about to watch is for a movie that is unlike any you have ever seen before. It is for a movie that goes beyond temporary fear to everlasting terror. It is a movie called Demons.
Cover her face with the mask of Satan. Horror Italiano. Demons.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to Horror Italiano. I am Joe, the psychologist, and I got my right-hand man here, my brother Rick. Rick, this was one when we put together our list. This is your choice, and another great choice, bro. But how you doing tonight? You ready to talk demons?
I'm doing good, my brother. Absolutely. This is a film that's a guilty pleasure, man. You just throw it on, have a great fucking time, bro. That's the kind of movie this is. A little different than Deep Red, which we covered, which, you know, that's a giallo film. It had more intricate and more moving parts to discuss, where this one is like one big rock video, essentially.
Pretty much. A gory rock video.
I
At
love
that.
it.
Welcome to Horror Italiano. So if this is your first time watching our Horror Italiano, we're going to be discussing Italian horror movies. And in this one, well, we're going back to 1985, a zeitgeist of its time, the music, the clothes, the way people talk. So we're going to be discussing the 1985 movie Demons. It is directed as well as written by Lamberto Bava. Also, the screenplay was written by Dario Argento as well as Franco Ferrini. The original story and an original screenplay was Dardano Sacchetti. The movie stars Urbano Barberi as George and Natasha Hovey as Cheryl. So when this movie starts, which we're going to discuss this at the end, but the beginning movie, you know, it gives you a scene of a subway in Berlin. I kind of thought it was at first New York. However, it did give you that New York vibe. So we are introduced to Cheryl. Cheryl's sitting on this train. This guy starts following her. You know what? I probably would have taken off too, especially if I would have gotten a glimpse of the mask that he was wearing. When the guy finally catches up to her, it's to give her free tickets for a movie screening. So Cheryl meets up with her friend Kathy and tells her about the tickets. They're supposed to be going to class. Honestly, if I got some free tickets, I had a choice between school and a free movie. I'm going to the free movie, to be honest with you. And I probably would have ended up in the same situation that most of the people in this movie did in hindsight. However, they go to the movie theater. It is a renovated theater. I guess it had been closed before. We are then introduced to a myriad of people between preps. You have a blind man and his daughter, who is basically, I guess, a seeing eye. The older couple, the pimp with, you know, his two, I don't know, do I want to say hoes? The pimp with his two hoes.
Whores!
Actually, they were, I would probably would have hung out with them. They seemed like the fun crowd in the movie theater, to be honest with you. Until I got close, and I would have been like, listen, I don't got the money
listen
right now.
listen.
I ain't got the money right now.
They're the type they would be the type that would talk throughout the entire film, and not just that, they started smoking cigarettes in the theater. That's a no-no for me, bro.
Rosemary, she walks by this display that has a mask. She picks up the mask and puts it on. Once she put it on, it kind of looked like she had a little hard time taking it off at first, but she got it off, got a little scratch on her face. They start watching this movie. You kind of got a hint, though, once you started seeing, you know, this was going to be a horror movie, which some of the people didn't want to see a horror movie, which was kind of great because I love when people are put in that situation because you're seeing them scared and then they actually get to go through a horror movie. I love that in a movie.
Like that one character was like, this better not be a horror movie. And then 10 minutes later, see, this is a horror movie. Fun fact about that too, when they originally came up with this concept for this film, they wanted to use an older Lucio Fulci film as the film within the film to save on the budget. I don't know, they should have done it, but I guess they wanted to kind of, you know, film it in a way where it ran parallel to the events that was happening within the actual movies.
Well, I mean, and the movie itself did do that, which is going to lead me to the question I'm about to ask you. Rosemary's sitting there. They're all watching this movie. One of the characters gets his face cut. Rosemary also starts to bleed. And she goes off to the bathroom. This is where we are introduced to the first demon. My first question, though, for you, what created the demon? Was it the mask? Was it the movie? Or was it the theater? What did you think was the catalyst of creating the demons?
Well, before I answer that question, let's talk about that movie theater for a second. The Metropole. It looked gorgeous on the outside. It did look kind of like LA, but seeing how this was filmed and based in Berlin, it made a lot of sense. And when you go into the theater, the first thing I caught, brother, was all those posters. I don't know if you've seen them. We had a treasure trove of Easter eggs in this film. I spotted Creepshow, Terminator, Four Flies of the Grey Velvet, which is an older Dario Argento film. No Nukes, a female C-3PO character where I don't know where the fuck that's from. Harry's son and a AC/DC poster. I may be missing some things, but that's everything I caught off the top of my head when I was watching it. And if you notice, again, foreshadowing as you go in, the motorcycle, the sword, all the props that would come into play a bit later into the film are on display. And to answer your question, which this will lead me to, it's the mask, in my opinion, because the mask was in the film. The mask predates obviously the theater, and it predates the movie that it was featured in. So in my opinion, the fact that, by the way, the actor that's in that film also played the guy with the metal mask that handed out all of the actors.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he played
Oh,
Tom
nice.
Once that character places the mask on his face, cuts himself, I'm talking within the movie now. Then Rosemary, like you mentioned, she starts touching her wound and it starts bleeding again. And then, of course, Tony the pimp, he's like, nah, cut that bullshit, right? So she leaves to go to the bathroom, like you mentioned, and then, yeah, all hell broke loose. And I think, in my opinion, it was the mask.
The
What
mask?
say you, brother?
I think it was a combination of all three. That's why I think all three needed to somehow be in there.
You had mentioned the theater was renovated. Obviously, while they were in the movie, they were still doing some renovations because somehow they all got bricked in by a fucking cement wall.
Right. So somehow the building was able to cement them in. There's no explanation to that. The movie running parallel to what was going on. So for me, the movie playing was kind of like the record playing in Evil Dead, where it was basically calling the demon because it was running parallel. They wanted to what was happening in the theater to run parallel. So for me, it seemed whatever higher power that created for wanted these demons to come, used all three in order to do it. I don't think it was just singularly the mask itself, only because they never explained, even though later on, yes, the guys did get into the one door, but everything else like magically got walled up.
Yeah, the reason why that door you mentioned when those punks got in, don't forget, one of the demons opened that door to escape.
To get
that's
out. Yes,
that's
you're
how
right.
it opened. So it didn't magically just open. That demon knew the layout of this place and knew exactly how to get in and out. And you mentioned the Necronomicon, right? The scene when they were, watching the movie and they dig up Nostradamus' gravesite and his body ain't there. It's just a mask and like that. It was a book, right? I thought of Evil Dead as well. That, wow, this is kind of like Evil Dead. 85, by the way, the same year as George A. Romero's Day of the Dead. Imagine living in a year where Day of the Dead and demons come out in the same fucking year, bro. That's great.
The demon apocalypse is going to be a lot more worse than the zombie if you're going to compare them
Oh,
both.
yeah, dude. That cinema, the Metropole, is actually based on an actual cinema under the same name and location that was depicted in this film. That's pretty cool. It took an actual landmark that was real at one point, and they used that as a prop essentially.
It doesn't answer it, and again, this isn't a movie that is like if you're looking for answers, you're not gonna get it. This is just a fun, gory rock and roll video, as you said.
By the way, a blind guy going into a theater, that's irony, right? It had to be irony.
I mean, I would be annoyed going, do I really have to tell you the whole movie?
Not just that, but then that obnoxious looking guy who creeps in slowly like a freaking like pedo.
I think that was her boyfriend.
It was. I didn't know that at first.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why is this one motherfucker sneaking into this theater slowly? All the seats are available, but he sits next to her. But then a frame or two later, he's making out with her. I'm like, oh, okay, I forgot. Yeah.
He wanted to make sure that Daddy didn't hear him showing up. He was smooth. Dad can figure out evil in the building, but couldn't figure out boyfriend just showed up to sit down.
Yeah,
next to
he
his
was
daughter.
smooth, all right. He lasted long.
Well, yeah, you know. You get to the bathroom and Rosemary's transformation. I just want to take a moment to discuss these demon transformations because not all of them were the same, and I loved it. I was here for it. It was gross. The fact that thinking that it's a big pimple on your face, and I mean, all of us have gotten a pimple, but these things were like, a pimple on crack. They were just huge. They gushed out all that ooze. You know, if you're sitting there, you're like, oh God, that's so gross. And I thought the same thing back when I saw this years ago when I was younger. When basically Kathy births the demon out of her back, not a way that, you've seen somebody birth a demon. I mean, most of the time you see it come out of the mouth or they just transform into it. But to sit there and get on all fours and have the demon just rip through your back and just come out of you. Back then, I didn't look for stuff like this because, now that we do this, it's what I'm looking for. And you can see how it was done, and it's just still clean compared to the special effects that we have now.
Because it's practical. It wasn't just a demon bursting out of Kathy. It was a demon bursting out of another demon because Kathy had already turned by that point.
Yeah.
That was a cool ass effect though. I wish we would have seen him again, but he scratched the guy with the corny ass freaking
his sweater over his shoulder.
I can't. Oh my God. You could tell this is the 80s, bro.
Of course, man. Of course.
Let me ask you something real quick. This motherfucker. He was giving orders and shouting at everybody to barricade this, watch the floors. What are you doing? Get to work. Why were these motherfuckers listening to this dork?
Well, because somebody needed to direct them. I mean, they're all kind of standing there. Plus, they lost Tony.
But bro, this motherfucker wasn't doing anything. He's just like guiding everybody, but not lifting a fucking finger, bro.
Well, I mean, that's why he was dressed the way he was dressed.
I digress.
No, I'm not gonna get my hands dirty, but hurry up, get going. I want to get the fuck out of here. That's what he was doing.
I think he was like enamored with Tony. I think he was he was like, man, this guy's fucking cool as hell. I want to be like this dude, bro. He got the hose.
After Tony died, he kind of started acting like he manned up.
You ain't worth shit!
Bursts through that movie theater screen, gets on the floor, and she's slowly transforming. This has got to be the slowest transformation I've ever seen in my life on film, bro. We discussed An American Werewolf in London, which was slow, painful, but this one seemed a lot slower because her nails were elongating and her eyes were turning colors. The shit that really got me, and I know it got you, when her sharp demon teeth burst out of her mouth and it started popping out her original human teeth. They dragged that for so long and it looks so brutal. And the fact that the demon teeth weren't like regular teeth, there's one long one in the middle, two longer ones here. It was so fucked up. Her grill piece, brother, was beat to fucking death, man.
I thought about the same thing when they got to the scene. I'm like, really? Another teeth scene? I'm like, we just discussed what happened to the teeth in Deep Red, and we're getting another movie where they're focusing on the teeth. Gnarly. It was.
And again, an Italian trope where they have to really linger the camera on such moments where they know you're uncomfortable, but between the visuals and the sound that was used when the teeth popped out and you could hear the teeth hitting the
ground,
hitting the ground. Oh, bro, that was brutal, man. That was a great scene. Yeah, her transformation when she ripped through that screen, top tier. I remember you telling me too. Actually, fun fact. This is Mario Bava's kid. Mario Bava is like the godfather of Italian cinema. We will get to him later in Horror Italiano, but for now, we're talking about his kid. There was an anthology that his dad did called Black Sabbath, which is an anthology film, 3 stories, and this film was originally conceived as that.
As that, yes.
So
it was supposed to be.
You brought that to my attention. Elaborate.
So this was originally a Dardano story that he wrote. And then to turn it into a screenplay, he worked with Lamberto. They decided to make this movie by itself. However, Lamberto kind of wanted to change things a little bit, and that's when he brought in Dario Argento. Argento brought in Franco Ferrini, and basically Dardano was kind of out. In the movie itself, the first half is Dardano's story. The second half is Ferrini's part of it, which got changed from Dardano's original vision. Dardano has actually spoken up that he wasn't happy with how they took the second half and made it more gory, more bloody, more special effects. But he was brought in at the end, again, to help them polish it up. Dude, tell us about the gore in this one. I mean, because this was
fantastic.
This was bloody. This was gory.
Practical. It's gross, disgusting. You mentioned like when those pimples were pulsating. These wounds started to pulsate until they burst.
And it was very fucking gross.
And it was gross because it was like this green ooze or this yellowish ooze, but you don't turn right away. You're still kind of like you start veining up, your eyes start going yellow. And what I loved about the effects in this film too is like they decided, this was Bava's idea, decided to have the demon's eyes glow. And it's a simple effect. All they did was take reflective paper and put it over the actor's eyes, man. And on camera, it created that effect. Bro, no CGI, no computer, reflective paper. And it looked fucking great on camera.
The simplicity of the effect, the lighting.
Yeah, oh man.
You know, I know that we normally towards the end we'll discuss a little bit the soundtrack, but just because, as you mentioned, that reflecting. If you've seen the movie, you know that scene is coming up. If you've never seen it, the fact that you're saying it's so beautiful to see these demons come up and these eyes just glowing. That is one of my favorite scenes.
That's what's so good about it. They didn't like harp on it or linger on it. You want it to creep into your brain, talk to your eyeballs, give you those feelings, and then go out. You're gonna be like, holy shit, what the fuck was that? So that was really good. That was really good. Another thing you had mentioned about the demons, they are individual demons. No two look alike. They all go through different forms of transformations, and they're all different in the end. Another one, the ticket lady, she had the green and yellow dress. She turned into a demon in the end. I thought she was in cahoots because when Rosemary was touching the mask, she looked over. She worked in the theater. And here's a fun fact. Do you know that that's the same actress who played the little girl, Olga, in Deep Red? The one that was killing all the fucking lizards?
Nah.
That's her, brother.
I did not know that. That's fucking awesome.
Yeah. So what's going on with Deep Red? A lot of connections going on.
Wow, I'm like in my head,
Argento,
like, this is pretty cool. Like in our first episode and all these little Easter eggs in this one. That's pretty awesome.
I'm a gore fiend, and I know you are to an extent, but what was it about this film's gore and effects that really drew you to the film?
Again, as you said, it was practical, so it looks real. The only thing I'm going to mention, because it's funny, because there's a lot of blood in this. A lot. And I'm like, we just finished talking about how movies, when they have too much blood, but this is where it fit.
The blood will infect you. It's not just the scratches or bites or whatever. No. It was more of a visual storytelling aspect where, oh, you see it? I get it.
The demons don't need the human blood, so the body's just expelling it all. So that's where I said to myself, I'm like, we just knocked it, but then I'm like, well, no. I mean, the guy's dying. Yeah. You know, when you see people die, they throw up the blood. It comes out from orifices. So that's where all that fit.
Ebola virus over here.
It's been a bit since I saw it. I saw this when I was younger. I saw it a couple times when I was younger, and just remember how gory it was, and I loved it. And seeing it again, I mean, does it have the same effect that had me back then? No, I just have a more appreciation of how it's done because there's no CGI.
We're talking about Tony the Pimp real quick. Were you sad when he died? Because he was like, oh, they ain't gonna get me. And like not even 5 minutes later, he's dead.
They ain't gonna get me. That's for sure.
His dubbed voice though.
Oh.
It was so bad.
It was stereotypical.
So over the top, so bad. I loved it. I would never change it. Leave it as is because it's so memorable, bro.
Cinematography wise, it had a lot of cool shots. You know, it's not like going to be like the stuff we're going to see in the other movies. I know that I'm just a little more hypersensitive looking things around. You know, you see the reds and the yellows in there, but it's not done like the other movies. They're a little bit more subtle here. because this is more horror, so it doesn't have to be so, you know, art in sense.
Yeah. Deep Red, they're painting a picture with the camera work, the colors, and obviously the dialogue in a way, because that's how those films are structured as far as the narrative. This movie, they're not trying to tell you a story. They're just telling you, okay, people are gonna go into a theater and monsters are gonna rip through the movie screen and kill you. And that's it.
Yep.
that's the basis of this. There is no story. That's it, really.
No.
You know?
Nothing
And
at all.
I wouldn't have it any other way, because I think we need movies like this. You know, smoke a little doobie, you drink some beer, watch this flick, bro. Come on.
So in the beginning of this movie, I'm gonna call it a beat, because I was waiting for the Sugar Hill Gang to come out, you know, with Rapper's Delight, because it had a bit of a funk. It had like the kind of music that you breakdance to.
The subway scene.
The subway scene. In the beginning, I'm like, all right, I wasn't expecting this. I knew we were gonna have some rock, but we got some, you know, breakdancing music right in the beginning, like the beat of it. And like I literally like sitting there going, are they gonna start rapping? Somebody in the New York system back in the 80s with listening to the old hip hop type of music. That's the feel I got from it.
It catches you off guard.
Yeah, you don't expect it because you're
You
expecting
don't.
rock and roll.
I don't know. When I first saw this, I expected a horror film, a horror soundtrack, and when it starts like this, I don't know what it was. It just works. I hate rock in film, especially horror film, but this movie, it just fucking works. Do you know who scored this film?
For God's sake, I was hoping that you did.
Come on, brother. Claudio Simonetti. That name does not sound familiar to you, I'm assuming, but it should, because this is the keyboard player from Goblin.
Ah,
Yeah,
nice.
so he does music on his own as well, and he's a long-time Argento collaborator, and he worked with Bava on this film. So if the music sounds kind of familiar to Deep Red or Dawn of the Dead, Suspiria, it's got some of the brainwork behind it that scored those films as well. So this tune in the fucking beginning of the subway, like this is the kind of, if I worked out, obviously you can tell I don't work out, but if I did work out, this will be on my playlist, bro.
Some of these movies were a little bit before our time when we were listening to the music, but this movie had Motley Crue, it had Billy Idol, it had Go West. So
Go West. What do you know about Go West?
I just know that one song, believe it or not, and when I heard it playing, I'm like, what the fuck's this song doing in here? Because I forgot about the soundtrack itself again. You know, my memory didn't retain the soundtrack part, so watching it, I'm like, you were there, you understood the vibe, you understood how the people were talking, how people dressed. You got it. The music fit. You know, when you had the gang with that brilliant Coke can. We don't have to discuss that, but I gotta say.
Hold on. Yes, we do have to discuss that. First of all, these random characters get thrown into this fucking movie out of nowhere. The guy's snorting Coke out of a Coke can. I think they put that in there just to have him snort Coke out of a Coke can.
And I'm in my head going, not that I do Coke, but that's brilliant. Like, in a way, you're hiding it, you know, but you just have to be careful that you don't.
The guy was called Ripper.
I mean, such a typical name, and the way they were dressed.
Oh my god! Not just that, their dialogue and the way they acted was like, oh my god. But again, they were a means to an end because they were introduced solely for the fact to release this demon plague onto the streets of Berlin. Which is funny. You mentioned New York. Does anyone speak like in an English accent in this movie? I mean, the dubbing is all Americans.
Yeah.
I digress. But to go back to the tunes, the music worked so well because the song choices were on point. If you listen to the lyrics, they're all dark, right? You mentioned Motley Crue, you mentioned Go West, and Billy Idol, but it also had Rick Springfield, Pretty Maids, The Adventurers, and Saxon. But the best song was by Accept, Fast as a Shark. That fucking song, bro. Funny thing is, I watched this with the subtitles on, so as the music's playing, I'm reading the lyrics.
The lyrics
And I'm like,
The same.
I love these lyrics. How did I never appreciate this back when I was younger, bro? This is fucking great. I love the fucking soundtrack to this movie. And
Well,
I'm not a rock guy in movies, but for this film, it fucking works. Especially when the
It's-
guy, George, at the climax is riding a motorcycle with a fucking katana sword, and they're playing fucking Fast as a Shark. Yeah, that's pretty fucking awesome, bro.
Well, and they're up and just he's going up and down the whole, just around and around, up and down. I'm like sitting there, like I mean, you know, for a moment I'm like, ridiculous. You know what?
Hold on.
That's
Can we
not
talk about
ridiculous.
George for 1 second? How does this guy know how to ride a motorcycle, use a katana? He knew exactly how to take care of the part. Hold on. A random helicopter crashes through the fucking ceiling, bro. Which looked great. More dead bodies to show because there was two. The pilot and the co-pilot were fucking mangled, which looked great. And I like the fact they didn't linger the camera on them. You just saw them. If you were to see a dead body, that's what it would look like. They won't focus on it. This guy knew exactly how to use the wedge. He knew everything. What the fuck is who is this guy?
You know what I called him by the end of it? I'm like, when the fuck did he become American Ninja? Like when he was standing there with the katana, the way he was standing the pose, I'm like, fucking American Ninja. When did he show up in this movie?
When did he show up? This guy was a. Come on,
He was
bro.
He did in the beginning did not give you the kind of vibe.
No,
you know,
this is the
way he was
guy
sitting
that
next to
didn't
the
want to
girl.
dump a. He didn't want to dump a dead body over the railing because she was already
Yeah.
dead. No, brother, they're demons. They're infected. Chuck them.
Yeah. I kind of see where Dardano was not happy with the second half of it. While I wouldn't remove it because again, the movie is it's a time capsule of the times. It's probably the one part that just kind of made the movie go from horror to a little bit slapstick.
Yeah,
for me.
yeah. It's funny you say that because the European version of Dawn of the Dead, which Dario Argento had full creative control on how the edit came out, I did not like his version at all because what he did was he took a lot of the scary music, in a sense, out and put a lot of rock music in there. And again, Goblin did a lot of it, but it was like rock, pure. To me, it just ruined the vibe of the film. But for some reason, I know you mentioned Deodato was unhappy with the film
The second half of the elf. Yeah.
and it makes sense that Dario Argento was responsible for that because he did the same shit with Dawn. He just added this random rock soundtrack and he took away all of the comedy stuff of Dawn and added more. He did add more violence, but again, it was blemished by this score that just takes you out of the film.
Now that one.
But for Demons, it works though. I wouldn't want
It worked.
another
It
way.
worked.
It works.
I can understand. And then probably after, when Lamberto got this, he went, hey, Dardano, can you come back? We're done, but I need you to help me just clean this up just a little bit more for me. Yeah, thanks for doing me a solid. Something went in his head like, this wasn't
For sure.
fully
For sure.
my vision. It's the one part of the movie that just, it took it out of its reality and kind of just went a little bit over the top. But I still love the movie.
For me, my critique would be the film was going at a breakneck speed, bro. From the very beginning, the action picked up and the pace stood firmly still the entire time until, again, they introduce these random characters that you would think they're going to go into. Maybe they're going to go into the theater and save the day. They're going to be these guys, they're drug addicts. They're insane, they're wild and crazy, and they love to party, and they're gonna end up being the good guys. But no, they go in there and they all die, and they all become demons like this.
Yeah.
Their whole purpose as far as being written into this plot is just to get the demons outside of the theater and infecting the world, as you see at the finale when George and Cheryl escape the actual theater. We see that the whole I don't want to say the world, but at least Berlin is ravaged by these demons. And the fact that these people are driving around, this dad with his kids, this like 9-year-old with a freaking shotgun, like nothing. Like, wait a minute, hold on. How long have these demons been out there? Shouldn't they be like more confused? Like, what's going on? But they're acting like they've been in a zombie apocalypse for the past like fucking 5 years.
Exactly. It did give off that vibe. It really did. And by the way, again, George, he got the grappling hook and he was able to figure out to get the the hook up top.
That's my point. The wedge. Yeah, he knew exactly how to use
Dude,
it.
I would never have fucking thought
No,
about that. Like,
who knows how to do that unless you work
Yeah.
in that field? He knew how to do everything out of a sudden.
Just miraculously everything.
Which is
everything.
funny though.
It is. All right, guys, we hope you enjoyed this episode. If you have not seen Demons, do yourself a favor, check it out. If you have AMC Plus, it's part of Shudder, so it's available to you there. Or if you just have Shudder, that's how you can check it out.
If you can find this film, get it. If not, it's cool. It is on AMC Plus, Shudder. It's a great film. It's fun. Don't just turn off your brain. It's not.
Don't take it serious.
Yeah, when we met, it's an Italian horror film at its core. But this is something like you could tell it's Dario Argento. I would definitely recommend this film to any horror lover if you have not seen it, and if you did, you're here. Thank you for watching, and keep an eye out. We got more Horror Italiano coming through. This is only episode 2.
And if there's any movies you guys want to throw our way that we should check out, I mean, I know we're only on episode 2, but go ahead and let us know in the comments. We might let you know that we have it.
Season 2, we're gonna open it up. Yeah, you know
Oh,
what?
yeah.
Thank you for bringing that up. If you have a suggestion for our second season of Horror Italiano, I know we got a lot of people interested in this series because there's so many lovers of Italian cinema, man. So if you got that recommendation, drop it in that comment section.
Yep,
we'll
definitely.
cover it. We'll cover it.
So thank you for watching. Make sure to come back next week and support Italian horror cinema.